Okay, so here we are at Soulful 7 Conversations, and today I have a very special guest. I count her as a friend, but more importantly, it's someone that I admire, and I find you to be one of the bravest people that I have crossed my path. I look at you as someone that is a bright light, and I talk about what is hope, and I talk about living in hope, but for me, you incarnate that like day to day. So you're Isse Waddey, and you are a mother of 3 children who match up pretty much with my 3 bottom children.
Yes.
And you are a very crazy successful executive in the healthcare world. You have just put on a race for colon cancer, which you raised crazy amount of money, over $200,000,
mm-hmm.
and had thousands and thousands of people come out to this race.
It
was pretty amazing. I have to just toot my own horn because I did win for you.
Yeah, you did. That's what you have to.
Yeah, it's very rare that I win anything, and so yes, I did. I was running extra hard for you because you were at the starting line and you're at the finish line. I have invited you, one, because you're my friend, but also because, to be human means that we experience so many joys in our lives, but we also experience some serious struggle and disappointment and suffering. And I guess it was about 1.5 years ago
mm-hmm.
that I came over to your house and you announced the news that you had just been diagnosed stage 4 colon cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it has led you on a journey of serious fight for your life and for your health and for healing. And I think it'll be really helpful because I look at you and I see how you're handling the valley. And so many people find themselves or someone that they love, or if they haven't experienced it yet, they will experience suffering in their lives. And you exemplify this beautiful, graceful way of handling it. So I'm just going to start big.
All right.
I wrote a piece, I guess a couple of months ago about, I love peacocks. And peacocks have these beautiful, fans, this plumage, these blues, and their feathers are just gorgeous. And, but it said that they get their feathers from eating thorns, which is the irony of life. It's kind of like the bittersweet, that you have to have some of the bitter to experience the sweet. And you've eaten your fair share of thorns over the last 1.5 years. What could you tell me that suffering has taught you?
So it's an interesting question. Recently, Clay just preached at church on The 2 Mountains by David Brooks. And
which I'll recommend that book, The 2 Mountains by David Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great one.
It is. It is a great book. We're in the process of reading it right now, but I've also read a similar book called Halftime, and it's really about the first half and the second half. So very similar things. And
another one, while we're on the subject, is Richard Rohr's Falling Upward.
Okay.
Same idea.
Yeah, same thing. And so I get the question a lot of, and we think about it in terms of the 2 mountains, and Clay and I talk about it a lot too, is, how do you see the world differently now after the cancer diagnosis? And how do we get other people, how do we get me, Clay's speaking to himself, or you or my friends will ask me, how do I get to see the world like you do? What are things that you've learned? What are the lessons that you've learned? How have you grown spiritually? And what I say, it's the things that we already know. It's don't sweat the small stuff. Trust your gut. It's be in the present, in the moment. It's building the relationships and taking the time to do those things and being there for people in your community and the church. And the thing is I thought I was doing all those things before. And I was.
You're like Superwoman. You were doing everything.
I was. And I was doing a decent job. I was not doing a great job. But I still see the world so differently now. When I say I'm present and in the moment, I am 100% focused on who I'm with. My phone goes away, but my mind goes away. My mind stays with you. I'm with Farrell right now. And that wasn't happening before, because I would go to lunch, or I'd have conversations with you or someone else, and I would have the to-do list that we all have as a mom and as a healthcare executive and all the million things we have to do. And I was never truly present.
And that's how we miss things.
That's how we miss things.
Right? It doesn't like drop right down into the cells of us. It's like stays on the surface, the experiences, because we aren't. It's this constant multitasking, road runner, spinning top.
Yeah.
And that we're not actually really present ever in the moment.
And with the day I was diagnosed, I was smacked in the face. Like it was my wake up call. And that was one huge wake up call. It was the day I was diagnosed in November of 2017. But the other one was in September of 2018 when I was told I had 6 months to live. Talk about a wake up call. Yeah. You really look at life differently. And all that, those little things that bother me and all that goes away. And I'm talking immediately when I was told I had 6 months to live, after I got through the tears, my priorities in life changed in an instant. And not that it wasn't always my family, but it became 100% my kids and my family. And some of that other stuff just went away. And this burden that I'd carry on my shoulders, like it all actually went away. And I just stayed so focused on what was important to me in life. And it had nothing to do with things, or things you could buy. Everything had to do with people and relationships. And how am I going to take care of myself better? It was really all very personable, intangible, relationships focused.
Because time is suddenly actually precious. You realize, like, time is so precious in front of me.
Yeah. And I get the comment all that, we all never know when our last day is. We don't know. And we always say, live today like it's your last day. Right. And we don't, because we all know we're going to be here tomorrow. Right. I don't know if I will be, truly, in my heart. When you're told you have 6 months to live, it could be 3 months, it could be 9 months. And I don't know. So I truly do live each day. But until you get that tragic news, I don't know how you change that mindset for people.
It's like, how do you flip the switch where you really do, I don't know, you just like truly live? It's like all of a sudden you got the news and it's like the switch is flipped and you truly live, body, mind, and spirit.
Right.
Here.
You do. And it's really hard because pre-diagnosis and pre-cancer and all of that, again, I thought I was living my life that way. And I was so far from it. And
Can you give us how that looks, the divide? Because I'm sitting here across from you and I've been walking this journey with you. And I would tell you that the way you were living before, I think is the way that I'm actually living now. And I'm trying to help myself and I'm helping, other people. Like, what does it really mean to live the soulful life, which is what you're living now?
Right.
And you're living it so, like, I don't know, it's so tangible. I just see, it's like it sparks off of you. And I would tell you too that I'm like participating with my family. I'm like cooking them dinner and I'm sitting around the dinner table and I'm, doing stuff at the school and I'm doing my job and I'm writing and I feel like I'm living this really full life. But I do, when I'm around you, Isse, I see that there is, I don't know, it's like a deeper way of seeing the world and seeing your relationships and seeing time. And I see that in you. And how is it that we can live like that now? Because you want your children to live like that. Right? And so how do we, it's the Tim McGraw song, live like you're dying. It's really is. How do we live in the moment where we appreciate and we're grateful and we feel everything?
I think that's so hard, but it's so examples of what I used to do. So I'd come home from work, And all I would do was focus on my kids, right? And I was so focused on them, meaning I would play with them, or I'd be doing homework with them, or I'd read with them. But the whole time I had my phone next to me, I was making sure I was keeping up with emails on work, or I was doing a to-do list over here while I'm doing something. You know, I was with them and focused on them, but I wasn't 100% there. Now today, when my kids want to spend time with me, and I will put everything else aside. And it is 100% my brain, my body, my thoughts are really all about my children at that moment. And it's because I live like, what if this was my last day? Because I could literally die tonight. I mean, I don't know. And that's the way I act. And it's sometimes I have to, I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't do it all the time. And if I can't do it, I'll say, hey guys, let me finish doing this over here. And then I go with them. Right. Instead of trying to do it all at one time. And so and you know, Alex, my husband, I mean, he's the same way. I mean, he has changed completely too, in that he'd come home from work and the kids would be like, Dad, let's play catch. And he'd play catch for a minute. And then he's like, I got to go inside and get his computer and we'd work. And again, kids still involved. But now he puts it all down and he will go outside, and we all go outside as a family, and we'll play for 2 hours, undivided attention. Right. We're only going to have that time with these kids for a very short period of time, and it brings them so much joy. And to see the smile on their faces with mom and dad, and we're having family kickball, and we're all in it, and phones are gone, and distractions, and no one's there. Life doesn't get better than that. There's nothing that can get better than that.
So then, with that said, would you say right now then you are living with more joy?
Absolutely.
So and like you,
more joy and less stress than
more joy and less stress. And I should say, I mean, you were doing chemo every other week right now. So, and when you're doing chemo, you are flat out in the bed at least one day, but you feel pretty rotten the entire week.
The entire week, yeah.
And then you have a good week. So, but right now you are like more peaceful.
Yes.
So less stress, more present, and you have more joy.
Right. And I've grown.
So would you say you're happier right now?
Yes.
Than you were before?
Yes. Without a doubt.
So to me, that's a miracle.
I would.
Because right now you are what I would say is in the battle of your life. And you are giving it every cell of your body. I mean, your courage and your bravery, your willingness to uncover every stone. But then you're also living with this like sweetness of life right now.
And I think one of the questions we were talking about is, you know, if you saw God, what would you say? When you meet him, and I'd say, I love you. And I'd say, thank you. And I'd say, thank you. And I might quite, but like, I have gotten a second chance to live. And I want to live more now than I ever have before, even if I have stage 4 colon cancer. I have gotten a second chance. When I was diagnosed, any tension that I had with, say, a family member, a friend, a person, all that goes away. I was able to start with like a clean slate of rebuilding relationships and friendships. And that to me is the most important thing. And I've got to see the world the way I probably should have seen it this entire time.
Yeah, I don't know who says it, but it says you are saved, or you experience salvation when you actually see the world through God's eyes.
Yes.
The way God sees the world. And I feel like that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I've gotten a second chance. And what makes me sad is I want to live my life this way, not my old way. And so please give me the chance to live it this way, because I couldn't be happier right now. And
do we hear this?
Yeah.
I mean, really, Izzy, I see how hard you're fighting, and I know what this is taxing on your body and mind and spirit. But then it's like the flip, that you're living this beautiful life right now. You are living the soulful life right now. It's like the rose with the thorns. I mean, it just is, it's like, that's what I'll say when I get to God. Through the gates, I'm like, why? But in some ways, it's almost the only way. You know, it's like...
And I feel like it is, because how much I've grown spiritually in the belief that I have, and the hope and the faith, it has grown tremendously. And I think it's I think of the story of Job, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I feel like Job sometimes, right? I mean, when it's just, you and I've talked about that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, oh, when do I get a break? But it's awful at the time.
It is awful. I've seen you in the hospital. I mean, you are so brave, but you have like been tested beyond. I don't know if I'd be able to rise like you continue to rise.
But I think, yes, you would. And the other thing that gives me so much strength and so much hope, and I ask people to not stop. There's so much power in prayer, mm-hmm. in people. And Farrell, you have been an inspiration to me, probably more so than anybody, as far as growing spiritually and giving me the hope and the things we've talked about, just being there for me. The service we did,
that's probably, I'm just going to say, that was probably one of the more beautiful things I've ever participated in when we did the healing and hope ceremony, mm-hmm. for you. I mean, it was just, I don't know. You're just that person, though, that, you just want to like sign up, like sign me up. I'm like getting right behind her. I'll do whatever. I'll carry the banner. I'll do whatever, because you just elicit that, you're like, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to be hopeful and I'm going to show how strong I am. You were a tough broad. You were a tough broad before. I mean, you were like, wheeling and dealing and, doing all sorts of stuff. But now it's like even more. I mean, this is one of the things I was going to ask you, is suffering ends up revealing so much about who you truly are. Mm-hmm. Because when everything is stripped away,
yep.
And we've talked about this before, we both, like to be in control. We're both very hard workers and we can command our days, I guess. And all of a sudden that was taken away from you. And so you all the things that you thought you had control of, you didn't have control of anymore. And I mean, what does it reveals either, I see this all the time in my job that, suffering hits someone and they either they turn in and become bitter and they hide underneath the rock, yeah. Or they like explode and they're like, you're getting ready to see who I am. Mm-hmm. What is inside of me? Mm-hmm. I've said this before, and this is another thing I'll clarify when I see God and we're having that moment, is it feels to me like God gave us on the inside what we would need.
Yes.
And so God never said, you're not going to suffer.
Right.
This is not going to be easy street.
Right.
And so you are going to have to prove yourself. But I've given you resilience, and I've given you courage, and I've given you bravery, and I've given you the heart and mind enough to pick people to surround yourself with.
Right.
And you can do this. Mm-hmm. And you can do it beautifully and gracefully, which is what you're doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know, because we are only human, that you have moments where you feel, and you should say that, I mean, where you feel down and you feel angry and maybe you don't have as much hope.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, you reach out. Like,
I do.
Tell people, like it's important that we are not like Superman, Superwoman. No. I mean, we have moments of fragility, and I think it's so important that we're brave enough to reach out and say, hey, Farrell, this is a hard day. I'm having a hard day. Mm-hmm. And I come running. And
I've done that. And I think that's probably, you talk about the control, especially with my job and what I was doing. I'm that type A. The first huge lesson I learned, again, thought I knew this lesson, is I don't have control over much, not right. much at all. Mm-hmm. And I had to surrender to the Lord, and it's his journey, not mine. Mm-hmm. But I have so much trust in him.
How do you know that? Like, how do you know that you really can trust God?
Well, there have been a couple things that have happened, but I think that's a great question. I just feel it in my heart and in myself. And I believe that I am a thread in a big canvas, and he sees the canvas. and I don't. So I don't know why this has happened to me. And do I think God gave it to me? No. But I do believe it's part of my story and it's part of my journey. And I believe he knows what that is. And I just have that trust and confidence. And did I at first? I've never been mad at God in this process. People ask me that. And I've never been mad or angry because I have so much trust and confidence that there is something so much greater that's going to come out of what is going on with me. So it's not about me. It's really about what is the greater good. And I think through this process and bringing awareness to colon cancer and doing these types of things, Farrell, has really impacted a lot of people in my life. And
oh my gosh, so many people have gone and gotten a colonoscopy because of you.
And
people that are our age, because they're like, you know what, we need to go up and we need to do that. It's true.
And I've gotten people, I had a lady from Chicago reach out to me. She saw Waddey's Warriors on Facebook and all of that. And she reached out and she said, because of you, I went and got my colonoscopy. She was 40 years old. And she said they found precancerous, actually she might have been a little bit younger. They found the precancerous polyps. And they said, if you would have waited till you were 50, you would have had colon cancer. And she said, you saved my life. And when I hear those stories, I cry. But that's how I know there's something so much bigger than me.
Yeah, because it's like we have no idea. And I tell this to my kids, you just have no idea these little things that you do that can have such a ripple big effect in people's lives.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you have had some, I would call them mystical or, a touch with the eternal, transcendent experiences through this. And, I told you when we walked at Ragnar, when you shared one of the stories, I'm like, you've just, I so want to believe that God is in the thick of everything and that, knows our thoughts before we say them, that is so intimately involved and present. And when you shared, your instances of God's presence in your life, it feels, well, one, it's beautiful, but it just is so reassuring to me. Do you feel like you would share?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So there have been 3 very specific instances, and I'll share. The first one was I was having a procedure in the hospital, so I had to go under anesthesia. And as I was under, and they were waking me up after the procedure, and I was saying, please don't wake me up. I do not want to be awake right now. And it was because I was having a conversation with God on the beach. And the sense of peace I felt, I've never felt that peaceful and that calm and that awesome in my life. And I was having a conversation with him, and I was sitting and he was standing. We were on the beach, and he was just saying, you're going to live. Now, I don't know what that means. Yes. Live how, live where, live what. But he said, you're going to live and you're going to be okay. And, I'm right here by your side. And it was, even after I woke up, I still felt it. So it wasn't like, and I was saying, and I was yelling to Alex, like, please don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. I want to stay here, because it was the most amazing feeling. So when we talk about how do I know there's a God and how do I trust him, it's these moments that I've really grown so much, and he's with me. I know he's with me.
So it's just like it's just like you just know, like in the cells in your soul,
my soul,
and your spirit, that you just know.
I just know because of, and I've had other dreams before.
I love a conversation with God on the beach.
It was, but the way I felt after it inside, it was different than just dreaming about it, because I've had dreams, but when that feeling and that peace, it's never left me.
So that is, you've been gifted with the peace beyond understanding, right? It's like the peace that we all long for, that is hopefully available to us and that we want to experience. It's a different kind of peace. It's a different kind of peace than when I'm on a Sunday afternoon cozy at home. I mean, this is like it's in your depths where you just know. It's, I guess it's your soul knows.
My soul. It's in my soul. And the one other story, and it was a very similar feeling. I had just had liver surgery in November, and actually this precedes that story. And this is the first time where I really, through this journey, where I felt him. And I was, it was the day I'd gotten home from the hospital on a Wednesday, and it was that Thursday, and I started to get a fever, and I started shaking, really, like just could not stop shaking. And then the shaking was uncomfortable, but it was also painful because I have all these incisions in my stomach. And so I'm shaking, and then I'm crying because it hurts, and I can't stop shaking. And Alex is holding me as hard as he can, and I can't stop. And I'm just crying. And then, Alex kind of walked away, and I'm just laying there shaking. And all of a sudden, this peace, just, I can't even explain it, just came over me. And it was this sensation I got in my body, and I immediately stopped shaking. And my body just kind of sank in the bed. And I said, I'm going to go to sleep now. I'm done shaking. And I said, God is with me. And I just rested, and I fell asleep. But it was instantly, though. I went from shaking to just this. And it literally, I could feel it as it was running through my body. Like I stopped shaking. And then this peace came over me, and it was the most peaceful thing, to the point my sister was in the room, like she thought I was going to die.
Oh, because you were so peaceful.
Because I was so peaceful. And I said, God's with me, I'm at peace. And she starts crying because she thinks I'm going to die. I'm like, no, I'm not going to die.
Just had a mystical
experience, and you experienced it with me. And but it was, and that same feeling, so it's in my soul, like you said, it's deep.
So let's talk a little bit about the soul, because, we are a mind, a body, and I believe a soul. Has the soul part of you kind of stepped more into the forefront of your life versus the body and the mind? You are wickedly smart and gorgeous. But has the soul part of you, has that, like, I always say, who am I going to take out today for a walk? Am I going to take my ego out for a walk today, or am I going to take my soul out for a walk today?
Right.
And I feel like you're taking your soul out every day.
And I don't think I ever connected with my soul before.
So what does that mean to you right now?
So, I would take care of my mind and my body, but I didn't spend the time taking care and nurturing my soul.
Okay.
And when I got sick, not necessarily as much the first time, but this second time, when I was told I had 6 months to live, we really explored. We're staying on the Western medicine side, and I say we because Alex has been right by my side in this journey.
He is Superman.
Yes,
right. He's wonderful.
He is, and so we explored all types of alternative medicines, and I'll do anything.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of crazy things, but one of the biggest things that I love about the Eastern medicine is it's not just taking care of your physical body; it truly is taking care of your soul. What we put in our bodies. How we process stress and anger and frustration, and how when I start feeling that way, if I'm holding on to it, it actually makes you sick.
Yeah.
And how I had to work with people on releasing some of this anger that I didn't even know I had built up, or frustration. Again, not perfect. It's not all gone.
Yeah.
But understanding that really has an impact on your soul. Meditation is so important in yoga. And again, pre-cancer, I would do yoga, but the whole time I'm doing yoga, I'm thinking about the 500 other things I want to do versus focused on my health, my body, my mind, my soul, and thinking about healing my liver and thinking about seeing a healthy liver as I'm meditating and as I'm doing yoga. I could never have done that before because I had too many things going on. And that's just something that's really changed for me.
Well, so I think I've told you this before, but at Vanderbilt Divinity School, my kind of specialty that I did my research and writing about was healing. And so, coming from my background of Charlie and then working in the church, and healing is very important to me. This idea of, one, healing the body, but also healing the soul and the spirit, because I feel like, we always talk about Jesus as being this amazing healer. But for me, everything I've read about Jesus and the way that Jesus interacted with people, he was always going for something deeper.
Yes.
Always. So he would touch the blind, man on the eyes, and he would heal them, and he brought people back to life, and, forgave people, and that healed them. But it always, Jesus was always focused on the inner being. Mm-hmm. And he knew that was the most important. Mm-hmm. So I know you've had so many ups and downs through this whole journey, but would you say you've experienced healing?
Yes, I would. Even though I'm not healed.
Yes.
I have healed my soul. I've healed my mind, my spirit, things I've never... Relationships. I mean, I did focus on relationships a lot before, but when it came to me, I didn't focus on me and my health and what that really meant. Now, did I work out? Yeah, I worked out. But again, as I'm working out and running, I'm thinking about the 50 million other things I had to do. But for me to sit still and meditate or do yoga was very, very difficult. And I wasn't caring for me. I wasn't listening to my body or doing what my body was telling me I needed to do. And that's probably my biggest message to people too, is trust your gut. I knew something was wrong with me. I knew. All of the year 2017, it wasn't until November that I went to the doctor, but starting January of 2017, I mean, I remember vividly talking to Alex, my fatigue, my stomach pain, I started losing weight. I knew, and I'd go to the doctors and they would say, oh, you're just, you're a working mom of 3, you just had babies, you have 3 kids. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And finally, I just kind of took it into my own hands, but I wish I would have done it sooner. Yeah. We all do. And so that's been a hard thing for me to get over, is why didn't I go sooner? So that's probably when it trust your gut, because your body does, better, and keep pushing. The doctors don't. No, they're great people and they know a lot, and I couldn't do what I'm doing without them.
Yes.
But they don't know your body like you do. And
you are your own advocate.
You are, and you have to be. Them.
Yes, I mean, the other thing though is I believe, and I don't always listen. A lot of times I don't listen. That my soul is speaking. My soul can guide me and lead me, and you call that intuition, or you call that the spirit within you, or you call it gut. I don't know. I just do feel like, if only I would listen to my soul more often, I would actually maybe live the soulful life that I'm trying to live. Mm-hmm. I listen to expectations. I listen to, I've got to do this. I remember we walked at Radnor Lake and you said, how many meetings did I think I had to be there for? How many things did I think but it was so important, and I had this expectation, I should do that, or I have to do that. And actually I never had to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you said, I had to take back, what do I want to do, need to do? It's good for me. Mm-hmm. And I think we do. We live in this world that we can be all and everything, and we can do everything. We can be the mom, and we can be the professional, and we can be the person that goes to church, and we can have a spirit. It's all these compartmentalized things. And we think we're just checking it off. And one of my worries always is that I'm doing so many things that I live on the surface. Mm-hmm. And I never actually get down to that deep place. And
I think that's where I was. I was here.
Yeah, and you're uber successful at that. I mean, amazing mom, crazy, ridiculously successful in your professional life, great wife, doing stuff at church and in the community. But there is a difference, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe is the secret you do less, and then you do less so that you can actually have the deeper experience?
So for me, as we have this conversation, what runs through my head is the expectation I put on myself, mm-hmm. and then the expectation that I thought other people had of me. I cared so much, especially at work, mm-hmm. of what... And we all have to, right? You either have clients like that you have to take care of, or you have bosses, you have all these people you're trying to please, and therefore you're doing all these things based on an expectation you think they have of you,
right?
Which may not even be accurate. And then I put these.
And that's even with parenting, though, too. You can put this expectation that you're supposed to be this, like, mom that is, this exceptional,
right?
Perfect.
Yeah, it does everything, and you're right. You're right in your personal life, your professional life, and one of the things. I don't have high expectations of me anymore. I mean, I do have high expectations, but I don't have unrealistic. And the expectations I put on myself are things I know I can do.
Okay.
Right?
So give me an example of something.
For example, like this week, I've overcommitted myself. But I really haven't. But for me, I have. Right? I had a breakfast, I had a lunch, and then I had to go meet somebody, in that afternoon. Well, that's a lot for me because my energy level is so low. And I'm like, I can't do that. So I'm not going to.
Right. I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Before you would have pushed through, right?
Right. And I can't push because I physically can't push through anymore. But even if I can, I know if I do, it's going to take a toll on me for a couple days.
Right.
Or it could really be detrimental to me. So I'm almost forced to do this, but it's nice. And I say no a lot more. And I don't have these crazy expectations of me to do everything. We talk about it. You can do anything. I think we are all capable of doing anything we want to do.
And many things.
Yeah. We just can't do everything. And we try to do everything, and that's where we stay at the surface, or we fail, or we get sick, or you're neglecting something, right? If you have so much going on, and we're trying to do everything, it's impossible, and you're neglecting. And most of the time, we tend to neglect ourselves. I think in our health, right? I would never. I mean, I was healthy, I was in shape, I wasn't overweight. I was stressed out to a maximum, but I am not your typical picture of colon cancer. And
yes,
I never thought, first of all, I didn't even really know what colon cancer was. I mean, I did, but I didn't know much about it because you never hear about it. But, I'm a healthy 42-year-old woman. Like, I'm not going to get cancer. Wrong. All of us, it doesn't discriminate. None of this does. And so, anyway, I know I'm on my soapbox right now, but I do wish, what I see most in people, what I wish is take care of you.
Right.
And when I talk to people and tell them, don't have such high expectations of yourself, or at work, for example, they'll talk to me because they want advice about, how do you see the world differently? And I'm like, well, tell me about your work. Well, I have to do this, this, and this, and this. I'm like, why do you have to do those 10 things? I've got to work to pay for my kids to go to school and this house and all this. Yeah, you do, but do you have to do it and not?
I think
care
we're
for
so
yourself?
hard, razor sharp edges,
Yes.
and actually we can soften the lines.
I think that's
Soften
right.
the lines a little bit. I mean, I guess a couple of years ago, one thing I've done, gosh, there's so many things I need to do, but I just said on Sundays we won't be doing activities.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be together as a family.
Yes.
And we're going to have downtime. Like, we're going to have genuine downtime. And if all we do on Sunday is read a book and fix dinner and that's it, then that is important, because I don't want my kids to feel like every single day they have to be wound up, right? And I want them to understand what it looks like to do nothing, to actually just turn it off and say,
and how many of our kids do that? Like, none.
Never. I know.
And that's hard. You're right. That's hard. We try to keep our Sundays family day as well. And I agree. And it's so hard. And it's hard for them too.
Because we are up against, especially if you're in the professional world, that you're up against these kind of rules. This is how it is, or you get left behind.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought I would get left behind.
I kind of want to get left behind. Right?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. I kind of want to just, I don't know, really experience things deeper.
And what I don't want,
I just want to really feel that flush of peace and joy, and not so wound up and tight.
And that's where I feel like I'm not 100% there every day, all day, but I'm so much further on that journey than I am this other.
Right.
And I think that's why more joyful and I'm much more peaceful. And that's been a journey. And you had said something earlier. I think it's really important. I'm not like this 100% of the time. I still sweat the small stuff. I still get upset. I still get angry. I have very bad days. I get very down. But I've learned to ask for help,
right?
Which I would never do before. And I also sit in it, meaning
sit in the suffering.
Sit in the suffering.
Oh, this is so important because I think I can remember sitting in the waiting room at Sloan Kettering and looking around at the parents, and some people were avoiding, some people were medicating, some people were angry, and I remember a nurse saying, the best thing you can do is be in it, like feel it, like just this is your reality, and just sit with it
and get it out.
Yeah, and get it out.
And that's a hard place. And that's a big lesson I've learned. And when you think about, like, when my kids cry, like, oh, don't cry, just be happy. We always, now I sit in, and when I tell my daughter, it's okay. You know what? I understand why you're sad. Let's cry about it. Let's get it out. Let's sit in it. You're not going to be happy all the time. Your feelings are going to get hurt. Whatever is going on. And I've learned to just sit. And some days when I feel like crying, I will cry all day. I won't answer the phone. I won't talk to me. I will cry. I will not let myself stay there.
Right.
But I will let myself sit in it for a day.
Sit in it for a day. Yeah.
I do pull myself back out.
You're so brave.
But I have to, because you have to feel that, or you just, it doesn't go away. It's pushed somewhere in that soul.
Somewhere.
So you got to let it out in order to heal.
Right. I'm just curious, has the way that you see God or experience God changed? Like if you had to introduce me to the God that you speak to and pray to and is like right up against you when you're going through a hard time, who is that?
It's amazing. And I don't think we'll ever fully know or appreciate until we go to heaven. I think of heaven a little bit differently too. I think of that next step a little differently. I think of death. I have a peace about death.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you're right there at that place where it feels, not that it's not a reality for every single one of us, but it's like the words have been spoken to you. And so you feel like you're on that boundary. How does that make you understand death, God, and heaven?
So I did the peace that I have. I've gotten a peace about it. And like I said, I think there is a greater plan. There's this bigger canvas, right? And I'm just a thread in it. And I just trust that the journey I'm on is the right journey and is going to be greater good come out of that. And if that means that I have to leave this earth sooner than I want to, then there's going to be good that comes from that. And I don't know what good that is.
How have you gotten to this place?
Just a lot of praying and people like you in my life, and just really, if I lived I never always had peace with death, but I mean, I've had to plan my funeral. I mean, me and Alex have had to have some very, very difficult discussions. So I'm not afraid of death. And I think heaven is going to be amazing. And I think I'm still going to be so connected to my family when I die. And I think that it's unbelievable, or we will never understand on earth because our mind doesn't work that way. So I've accepted that. Like, I always tried to understand. Like, I always thought I could change. I always thought I was in control. I thought I could understand everything, but I don't. And it's just this trust that I have. And I think it's going to be great. And I think it's going to be awesome when I get to heaven. I don't want to go.
Right. Not right now.
Because
I'm not letting you go.
Because I think I have a lot. I don't think I'm going to die soon. I don't. I feel it in my heart and soul. I think there's a greater plan for me, and I'm seeing some of that unfold, and I think that's what gives me hope, because I think there's something more that God wants me to do, because I listen and I pray about it and I listen to Him, and I think there's something great. No, do I think I'm going to live till 80 years old? No. I think I'll die sooner, but I don't think I'm going to die in the next year. And I think there's a lot more work for me to do on this earth.
Yeah, when we were at Mother's Day service last week and you were sitting on the second row, and my prayer, my great, big, huge prayer is that I would be seeing you sitting on the second row next year for Mother's Day.
And that's
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
And I think I will be.
Yeah, I believe it. So if you had to tell someone they've just been given, terrible news, and maybe they have never really had, a relationship with God, or maybe they go to church and maybe they know some of the Bible stories, but they haven't had what I see you having, which is this, I don't know, it's like a connection, it's a conversation, an ongoing conversation. How would you tell someone to lean into God, to travel that spiritual path?
They have to open their mind to it.
It's a vulnerability, isn't it?
It's a vulnerability and an acceptance that you don't have that control. For example, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I used to think, that's just a coincidence. But
I don't either, by the way. But I think God is like speaking in so many different ways.
They're everywhere.
I mean, everywhere. I feel like it's just like, holy moly, you better open your eyes, because he's like, the whole thing is right there for you to like take and
it is
learn and get the wisdom. And,
if we opened our eyes and if we saw it. And I think, again, pre-cancer, I wasn't open. I didn't see it because I was too busy to see it. And so if I'm praying a lot right now or meditating or I need an answer or I'm seeking for something, like I just try to keep my mind is very open, and I'm listening to maybe something you say or somebody I run into. Like I believe God is speaking to us all day, every day.
It's like God's given us these little breadcrumbs.
Yes.
On the path, and are you picking them up and seeing what they are? I do. I believe it big time.
So that's what I would say to somebody is have an open mind and go to the Lord in your way. Right? And it may not be going to church every Sunday. It may not be the way Alex and I are approaching this. We both have grown tremendously in our spirit, in our faith, and we've done it a little bit differently. And he's doing it his way, and I'm doing it my way, and they look different, and that's okay. But
that's what I love about it, though.
How we've grown.
That's the freedom of knowing that your path and my path, hopefully, are going to continue to cross, but they're different.
Yeah.
And our understanding of God. I think I asked that question though because I don't know. I think that we do have a little like fear, a little standoffness to God, and that experience. It makes us feel really small. But actually, I mean, the God that I speak to, I feel like is so tender.
Yes.
Knows me so well that I shouldn't feel that way. It should be like I'm walking in under the wing, right? Instead of, and not being afraid or ashamed or, that there are expectations even with the spiritual life.
Right.
Right?
Right. And
there is this sense of, it's hard to communicate, but it's an openness.
It is. I don't know
just being like, okay, God, like I'm just like, my hands are open. I'm just going to see where you take me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to be as brave and listen as possible.
And I think before I wouldn't listen. I wasn't as open, and
we were busy.
And I didn't make it a priority, to be honest with you. I mean, made church and growing in the faith, but as far as a daily discussion and openness, I was not doing that as consistently as I am today.
Okay, so your world was upturned completely. It's like, when you do the dating of the Bible, before Christ and after Christ.
Right.
It's before cancer and after cancer.
I mean, that's unfortunately how we talk about my life all the time.
It is. I feel that way in my own life too. Yeah. But so what are some absolute truths? Paul Tillich talks about the grounding of your being, and that we have to, and I've mentioned before, that steel rod that's on the inside of you. That you just know, I don't care what the doctor says today. If he tells me 6 months, I don't care if tomorrow I have to get chemo or next week is a good week, or I just know that this is truth. What would be that for you?
So as you're speaking again, it just, for me, it's live for today, because you never know what's going to happen, even in just 5 minutes or 10 minutes or tomorrow.
We hear that over and over and over again, and I just don't know, how do we actually get it to go into the cells of our being? And today is it. Like, today is it.
And I don't know how you get that mindset, because we take advantage of tomorrow.
I know,
right?
We're like counting on it. It's like it's already in the bank. We've got it.
Right, we've got it, and we don't. None of us do. But again, when I was told I had 6 months to live, it was even when I was told when I initially was told I had cancer, it rocked my world, and it changed my thought process about life. When I was told I had 6 months to live, is when I jumped into this other world of happiness and joy, and have grown much more spiritually. So even when I was diagnosed with cancer, thinking I was going to just go through chemo and it was all going to be done and I was going to be fine, I still had almost the old pre-cancer perspective of life. It wasn't until I was told I had 6 months to live that I changed and I felt different. So it's when we talk about those,
it's like, what do we need to grab us by the collar? It's like, what has to be said? It has to be said. You have 6 months for you to finally wake up.
Right.
Wake up.
And I do believe that, unfortunately, tragic events bring you closer to God, or can bring you closer to God if you so choose to go in that direction. And, that's what happened to me. I mean, to me, it is the absolute truth is, live for today. And again, I don't know how to get people to do that. And I would say, trust yourself. Like, listen to your gut, listen to yourself, listen to your inner soul, your inner voice, and don't neglect you. Again, I see all these people, all of our friends, they're all running around, and I really worry about men because they're just going, and they think women do too, but women tend to be more the caregiver and take care of themselves, where the men are not as much, but they're working so hard and they're saying, I can't do that. And and especially as we get older, high stress levels, and they're, taking care of the family. They feel like they got to do all these things. And I'm just worried they're not caring for themselves, like truly in their soul. Where's the joy? Yeah, where's your joy? And I see it a lot more in men than I do women, as far as not taking care of the soul.
What would you say? I mean, I've kind of been walking this journey, so I probably could answer this for you, but I'm going to let you answer it. What has been most helpful during this time?
I would say my relationships and people. When I am sitting in anger or I'm sad, and I'm like, I'm not sure I can do this one more day, because I've been there. And I get a text from my friend in Atlanta who says, just thinking about you, I love you, praying for you, always here for you. I'm like, you know what? I got this. I'm going to fight. The text, I get so many texts and so many cards and so many people reaching out to me. And what I never want anybody to think is that it doesn't matter, because they have no idea how much it means to me. And that's the one thing I just don't want to ever stop, because it's hard to articulate. I can't go and write thank you cards to everybody. It's just not feasible. I can't do it. I used to stress about it.
Yes. These are those things you have to write like that.
And that's one thing I have, and that's been one thing I've been hard to let go, because I'm like, how do I write thank you? How do I keep up? And
just say it right now. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Because I can't keep up. But I also want people to know how much I appreciate and love and the support and the healing and hope service. I was so down in the dumps during that time. You and I talked, and that was one of the big reasons. I couldn't get out of my funk. And when we had that service, I did a 180. It changed me. There were 300 plus people there.
More than that.
Right. And just seeing everybody and just feeling it, and the whole service and the music, and your sermon, I mean, everything was, I can't explain it to you. It's the people for me. Mm-hmm. It's the relationships, just so important to me, and just continue to motivate me. And then obviously my children, mm-hmm. my 3 kiddos, Rex, Hudson, and Briggs. When I look at them, that will make me cry. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm like, I can't do that to them, because if I die, it will so break them, and so I can't die, mm-hmm. and I won't.
So we keep plugging along.
So we keep fighting.
Hope.
No matter what. I mean, I look at them and I look at Alex, and I'm like, they can't do this without me. And I'm just kidding.
They're Superwoman. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
No.
But it's just like,
Yeah.
We're talking about a 7, 9, and 11-year-old. Like, mm-hmm. that's a lot of pressure on some little kids. And mm-hmm. so, but that's, when I look at them, I'm never going to give up.
Never.
I'm
not going to let you.
Never.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, this whole year I've been doing How to Live the Soulful Life. And I'm just curious right now where you are in your life, what gives you soul joy?
Soul joy. So I love, obviously, my family. Mm-hmm. So
being
Hudson, Briggs, Rex, and Alex. My friendships. So awesome. My relationships.
You just got back from Florida with your friends, which you had a wonderful time.
And as you say, the beach. Mm-hmm. And just being around, my friends. I will say, the church is just been...
The community,
mm-hmm. The bridge service, the music mm-hmm. Really touches my soul. Mm-hmm. I've learned, it always has, but it's so much deeper for me now. And Andrew will send me songs quite a bit, and it just touches my heart. It touches my soul. It's amazing. Meditation. Mm-hmm.
Is there a special kind of meditation that you do?
No, I just, when I'm either in the morning, I'll just kind of get up and the meditation is, I could be on a walk and meditate. Mm-hmm. And I think you taught me that. I mean, I can meditate. I used to struggle because I used to thought I had to sit, but I can meditate wherever I am. Even if I'm just sitting in the car waiting for my kids, I could just go to a place for just a few. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out task, but just kind of go away and just be. And I'll say that's good. It's just the walking and really enjoying being outside, the sun, the vitamin D is really important for my soul.
Simple things.
It's simple stuff.
I mean, soul joy is so simple.
Yes.
So simple.
But we don't do it. Going back to why don't we do it? Because I again, pre-cancer, I wasn't doing it. And
but you had a very happy life.
Happy life.
I think maybe that's, if we could distinguish between happy and joy.
Yeah.
Right? And so the joy is where you get into that deeper soul cellular place. Yes. Happy is on the surface.
Right. It's very surface.
Like I had a really yummy cinnamon roll today for breakfast. Yes. And that's like so happy.
Yes.
Sitting here with you and you speaking
just
gives me joy.
Makes me happy.
It's like a depth of living that I want and I crave. I want a deeper living, Okay. So, I sign off on my blog, Live in Hope. And so I have always said that what I write about, it's because I'm so trying to do it. I want to try to figure it out. You're actually, like, when I sign off Live in Hope, it's like something I'm aspiring to. You're actually doing it. What does hope? What is the definition of hope to you?
That there's something so much bigger and greater than me, and I have to be comfortable with not knowing exactly what that is, that is for the good of many, if that makes sense. And so what gives me hope is what's happening, I believe, wholeheartedly, what is happening to me right now is for something that is so much greater and good that I don't know. That's what gives me hope. And I believe my journey with my professional career was not an accident. I believe that's the journey that I'm supposed to be on, but I believe it was to prepare me for something so much bigger and better. And I don't know what that is, because I think these are stepping stones. And I've prayed about it a lot. And I felt this even before I got cancer. I knew that what I was doing was not where I was going to end up. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what that next step was, but I always said it was going to be so different and meaningful in a different way. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I didn't have cancer. I didn't have anything. And Alex and I would talk about it a lot. I'm like, but I don't know what it is. But I felt it so strongly, Farrell. Like even in 2016, all of 2017, I would go home to Alex. I'm like, God has a bigger plan for me, but I don't know what it is. I mean, and I just felt it. I can't. And then I was diagnosed with cancer. And so that feeling stayed with me.
So it's still in you.
Oh, like, it's still in me.
Know.
I just know. I don't know exactly what it is, but I believe this is a platform that will help me to continue to help others or just be a voice and just be an advocate and just do something. So I listen to him and I follow him and I get opportunities like this to talk to people. I've done podcasts, I've done other videos, I've done the op-ed, and those opportunities came. It's not like I'm seeking them. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like I'm going to do this and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But you know what? I think that we're all drawn to people that are living that deeper soulful life because we so long for it ourselves. And so you are now, like, you just have this force field around you that draws people in because they're like, oh my gosh, I want to live like she's living right now, deeper and fuller and with more joy, more purpose, more of the sacred and the divine in me and around me. And you're doing that.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like I've got a second chance. And that makes me cry. I mean, I've got a second chance to live this soulful life. And I want to live it because I feel like I enjoy things and see the world so differently than I ever did. And again, I feel like I have a second chance to truly feel that and live life that way and make a difference that way. And that gives me hope. Which means
I have a second chance. And they listening have a second, let's get with the program.
Right. Let's just do it. Let's make some of those changes.
Let's do it. Let's live the life that I believe God dreamed and meant for us. Let's shake off all this extra expectation and let's shake off the busyness and let's go more for the sacred.
And then instead of saying,
I need to tell myself that like a million trillion times though.
I know. And it's hard.
And it's such good intention. The other thing I think too is, I think that underneath all of us, underneath our pain, underneath our years, underneath expectations, underneath fears and hopes and dreams, we do have the soul that's like, hello, Farrell.
Oh, we do.
Like, this is what, you're not quite on the path right now. Like, you're feeling that angst. That's because you're supposed to be doing something else. Or, knock, Farrell, you let that day go. And some days I do. I'll get in the bed at night and I'll be like, goodness gracious, Farrell. Like, you did a million trillion things today, but how much of that was actually sacred?
I did that.
How much
I did that last night.
That day?
Right. I did that last night. Right. So we're all still doing. I'm still doing
a day to remember.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And I don't know if do I need to put a huge poster board on my mirror so that when I go in to put my contacts in the morning, I see it. This is who you are. This is who God is. And these are the essentials of what you're supposed to be doing. You should
see the mirror in my bathroom. I have sticky notes. So when I wake up in the morning, I have, she believed she could, so she did. And I have all these sticky notes that my daughter wrote. They're different Bible verses, or Mom, you're great, you're awesome, I love you. Like all these things. You should see my mirror. So every morning I wake up, and as I'm putting on my makeup, I'm reading these things over, and it does.
So this is the tip for Soul Joy for the week then.
Yeah.
Like, get on your mirror with sticky notes, or if you're creative, put the poster board. to remind yourself, like today has to count.
And I'm very anal retentive, and I like things to be clean. And so I have the sticky notes everywhere, and at first it was annoying to me because I wanted to just be perfect. But so for those people out there that want to be, just get over it.
Get over it.
Because
Put the sticky notes up there.
It's worth it.
Oh my god.
No one else goes back in your bathroom, so just leave them up.
I love you. I admire you. I believe in you. And I'm like your fighting force right beside you.
Well, you are my rock.
I'm like right beside you
Farrell,
all the way.
You are.
All the way.
You bring me home.
I'm going to drive you around when you're 80 in like a convertible.
I love it.
Around town, okay? We're going to have a celebration.
We want a celebration, yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
so much.
Well, I'm so honored to do this, and thank you. And Farrell, you have been truly, when we talk about hope in my life, you bring me so much hope, so much joy. You're just everything you do is just inspiring.
Yeah, well, you inspire me. I'm telling you. You call me to sign up for you. Well, and I have signed up.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
Because I need you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.